All right, welcome everyone who is joining. While we wait for a few other people to come in, you guys can drop where you are from in the chat. We love to hear where you guys are all from. And yeah, we'll see if anyone's close by. We've got Michigan. Shaun, you are?
Shropshire in the UK.
Very nice.
Correct pronunciation.
Myself I am in Manchester, New Hampshire. Oh, India. Washington State. Hello, Jordan. We will get going in just a few minutes here as a few more people hopefully start joining. Houston, Texas. Welcome, Wilson. Again, welcome to those who have just joined. Feel free to drop where you're from in the chat. We love to see where everyone is joining us from. And we will get going in just probably about another minute or so. All right. I think we will get started here in just another minute or so. We're still getting a few people joining. Again, feel free to drop where you're from in the chat. We love to see where everyone is from. And we will get started in a few minutes. All right, Shaun, I think we can get started. And as people join, I'll just make sure to welcome them. So this is Going Mobile with AutoCAD, and our community conversation host is going to be Shaun. I have a few quick slides to go through before I hand things over to him. So just to get started, we're going to talk a little bit about the Autodesk Community Conversations. So Shaun, if you could go forward a slide, that'd be great.
Certainly will. There we go.
Awesome. So the Autodesk Community Conversations, if you have joined before or not, it is basically a way that we get expert speakers from our community to come and share their knowledge, hopefully make some connections and things like that. And it's usually hosted by one of our Autodesk community managers. So some of those faces hopefully look familiar to you. This is actually a new series that we're doing. This is the first one, so it's very exciting for all of you who have joined. And just a few things before we begin. Shaun, if you can just go forward one more. Your line is muted as you joined, if you have noticed, just so that we can reduce some background noise. We invite you to turn your camera on if you are comfortable doing so. It just kind of helps provide a more in-person feeling instead of seeing a bunch of little black boxes with names on it. But if you're uncomfortable, there's no pressure. If you have a question, you can either raise your hand using the little raise your hand reaction in the corner. Perfect, thank you, Shaun. Or either that you can type your question in the chat. I will be making sure to monitor that as we go along. This session is recorded. A link will be sent out to all the registrants as well as uploaded to our Community Conversations site, which I believe all of the links are available.
I've had it at home where my monitor doesn't turn on.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Okay. So moving forward, we just have a quick safe harbor statement. Basically, you guys can read this all for yourself, but please just know, do not make any purchasing decisions based on any future-looking statements, as they are not promises. And also just know that Shaun is outside of Autodesk. He is an individual who is just very passionate about AutoCAD. And so moving on, quick introductions of myself and Shaun. I'm not Shaun Hurley. My name is Tiana Dame. I am the AutoCAD and subscription management community manager. I stepped in for Shaun because he unexpectedly could not make it today. I am located in Manchester, New Hampshire. And Shaun, I will let you take over from here.
Thank you kindly. As you can see on the slide there, I'm the director and owner of CAD FM Consultants. Have been since the year 2000, which seems only 5 minutes ago. I'm an AutoCAD influencer. I'm based in Shropshire in the UK right now. As we were discussing before the call, I'm in between houses right now, which is so much fun. But yeah, so I'm in Shropshire right now. That could change at any time. So what we're going to talk about is going mobile with AutoCAD. And as we said earlier, this is the first part of a series. This is part 1, and there's going to be 4 parts in total. So there's another 3 community conversations that are going to happen in the future. So stay tuned for those. And part 1 is all about using the cloud with AutoCAD. And I'm going to jump into some slides. And then when we get to the Q&A, sort of towards the end, I can potentially share my screen if there's any questions about how to use it and how it works and so on. So I'm just going to jump into the first one, and this is all about using your Autodesk ID. Now, I'm assuming all of you listening, watching, etc., have an Autodesk subscription and you're using the software. So if that's the case, you're using your Autodesk ID already. You're using that now, especially with the later versions of the software, to actually get into the software. So if you run AutoCAD 2022, for example, you would have to log in and use your Autodesk ID to run that particular license. So when you're using your Autodesk ID, you'll notice I've got the branding in as well. We've got the nice new branding now as well. So we've got the new Autodesk logo in there. You go into a URL and it's accounts.autodesk.com. So you jump in there, and if you haven't got an account, you can create one, and you need your email address and a password. Now, like I said, if you've got subscription, you wouldn't need to create an account anyway. It should already be there. It depends on, what kind of level you're working at, though. If you're working within a corporate environment for a large organization, it may be that you need to find out what that subscription information is before you log in. But normally it's an email address and a password, or like it says on the slide there, subscription and login, you've got an existing email address and an existing password. Now, what you've got to realize here is that Autodesk ID is not just your access to the software. It is your access to all things Autodesk. It's what they call like a one-stop shop where you can sign into everything. So things like the knowledge network, the AKN, you can get into that using your Autodesk ID. You can also obviously add queries and replies to things in the forums that way too. So you can obviously jump into the forums, ask a question, and if you're logged in, people will be able to identify you and so on. One of the things as an Expert Elite that I normally do is I'm normally in those forums occasionally answering questions, as all the Expert Elites are. And the whole idea there is that you're gaining knowledge from us guys in the forums, especially about AutoCAD, for example. So you can see there on the slide there, you can see the welcome, and it's asking me there, that's my email address that I use to get into my Autodesk ID. And obviously that is my email address if you need to contact me at any time as well. And I put my password in, I hit sign in, and I'm into my Autodesk account. So once you're logged in with your Autodesk ID on the accounts page, this is all the information that you get. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in this particular slide, and I'm not going to bore you by going through every single little step on this particular web page. But once you're logged in, you've got things like your personal information, your security settings, which is obviously how you access the page, and the settings within the page itself. And you'll also have information in there like your professional information, Like I said, I'm an Expert Elite, so my professional information is very commercial. It's based around my company. And then I've got my contact information. So if somebody wants to reach out to me about AutoCAD or anything similar, they can do that. And also you can add your links there. So your social media, if you've got an Instagram or a Twitter, or you've got a blog, that information can also be applied to your Autodesk ID. And more importantly, it's access. Like I said, it's all things Autodesk. So once you've got all that information set up, that allows you to gain access to the Autodesk community sites, things like community conversations that we're having now, and so on. So how does that work when you're obviously working with AutoCAD? So this is where it gets interesting. You can see there at the top right, there's my login there. So I've gone into AutoCAD, and that's AutoCAD 2022, by the way, that I've taken the screen grabs from. So as soon as you're in the Start tab in AutoCAD, you are signed into your Autodesk account. Now that gives you certain privileges within AutoCAD. And what you'll find is when you go into the AutoCAD info bar, which is that next graphic down, you can see there that I'm also signed into my Autodesk account. Now I'm signed in automatically in the later versions, the subscription versions of AutoCAD anyway. But what it gives me is the ability to check my account details, which I've just talked about, but also I can manage my AutoCAD licenses. I can also explore further purchase options as well using my Autodesk ID. So this is where it comes back to that subscription thing. And if you're working with a larger corporate organization, you obviously don't want to run around buying bits of software. That's kind of left to procurement. So obviously don't go running around purchasing software, for example. Your manager might not be too happy about that one. But the whole idea of this is that this Autodesk ID is kind of omnipresent everywhere in your Autodesk products, including AutoCAD in this case. And the whole idea of it is that it's giving you access to stuff. Now, the stuff is in AutoCAD, which I want to talk about over this series, is utilizing AutoCAD and taking it mobile. So the first step to that is to make sure that you're signed in, which we are. And the next bit is this little bit here on the quick access toolbar. Now, this is the access bit that's really important, because what this does is if you're signed into your Autodesk account through AutoCAD, you've got access to your AutoCAD web and mobile folders. And a lot of people, especially at AU just recently, were asking me questions about how do these web and mobile folders work? Well, as soon as you've got your Autodesk account, your ID, and you're signed into it through AutoCAD, you've now got cloud-based space that you can use. Those web and mobile folders are in the cloud. So what you're doing is you're working with those web and mobile folders in AutoCAD, but it's automatically giving you access for cloud-based storage. So what do the web and mobile folders do? Well, they give you two commands in AutoCAD. So there's the icons there on the quick access toolbar. They look like a little sort of iPhone type icon. One of them's got a little folder next to it. The other one's got a little blue arrow next to it. And one of those is save to web and mobile, and the other one is open from web and mobile. It's kind of obvious which one's which. Save to web and mobile is the one with the blue arrow, because you're pushing it out to the device, in this case, the mobile device. And the other one, well, it's an open icon next to a mobile device. It's kind of self-explanatory what each icon does. Now, if you've never used them before in AutoCAD, you may find that there's a little quick driver install that you need to do. Lasts about 30 seconds, trust me. I mean, when I first started using the web and mobile folders a few years back, I had really, really slow internet, and it took about 30 seconds to install the driver. It's all web-based. You just click on either save to web and mobile or open from web and mobile, and the little driver screen comes up saying you need to install this. Hit the button, and it's done in seconds. So once you've got all that in place, you've got access to save to web mobile and open from web mobile. Save to web mobile saves your drawing, your DWG file, to the allocated cloud space provided with your Autodesk ID. So that's why that Autodesk ID is really important, because it gives you that access. It gives you stuff, as I said. And that can be accessed also with the AutoCAD web and mobile applications. That's really important. Now, those web and mobile applications are going to form part of the series. So we're going to work through this step by step, going through each kind of phase of the workflow. So once you've got that save to web and mobile in place, you can save a drawing file to the web and mobile folders. And once you're in those web and mobile folders, you can create a folder structure and you can create a project in the cloud. And what that means is other people can have access to your drawings. And this is where all the mobile and collaboration and everything else starts to kick in, because what it allows you to do then is open those files again from web and mobile later, and allows you to sync with those web and mobile apps as well. So it means that you can literally save a drawing to your web and mobile folders, leave the office, go and do something out on site, on the factory floor, perhaps go to a client office, and you can open up either AutoCAD Web or AutoCAD Mobile instead of having to drag a great big desktop PC with AutoCAD on it, for example. The other benefit of that as well, which for me, being of a certain age, apologies, is I used to drive to site and get a great big paper drawing and literally hold it on the bonnet, the hood of my car with bricks so that I could see what was going on. Now I can turn up on site with something like an iPad with an Apple Pencil, and I can actually edit my drawings using that iPad. I don't have to worry about using a red pen to mark up a great big paper drawing that is blowing about in the wind and the rain. So the whole idea is you can take all of these designs mobile using the latest technology, but more importantly, utilizing your core AutoCAD technology as well. So there's save to web and mobile. That's what will come up when you run that save to web mobile command. And it is a very simple dialog box. It's just like a save dialog box, but what it's doing is it's pointing to your web and mobile folders. And the same with open, it's exactly the same. And you can see I've already got some folders in there. There's some of my AU folders there. You'll notice there's an AU 2021 folder. That's where I keep all my AU sort of data sets and so on. So all of that information can be put up into the cloud. And the benefit you have there is it then becomes mobile. So when we're looking at these web and mobile folders, when you're using AutoCAD, what's the workflow? How does it work? Well, what we're doing is we're in our drawing, as you can see, just a standard floor plan there, and we're jumping up into, that's better, just lost the slide there, don't know why. There we go. So we're jumping into the quick access toolbar, and we're using Save to Web Mobile. And as you can see, the dialog box is there. We're saving that particular drawing. Now, don't forget as well, we don't have to use the AutoCAD web and mobile folders. We can use alternative cloud-based providers. Now, one of the benefits is AutoCAD, AutoCAD web app, AutoCAD mobile app. You don't have to use the web and mobile folders. You might already have a structure in place where you're using a particular cloud-based provider. So it doesn't have to be web and mobile folders. I also use OneDrive. I also use Google Drive. Up until a little while ago, I was using Dropbox as well. And all of these cloud-based repositories are supported by all of the AutoCAD applications. So that's AutoCAD Desktop, AutoCAD Mobile, AutoCAD Web. So your DWG files can be added to an existing cloud-based provision. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, for example.
Shaun, we have a quick question in the chat from Vinod. From which versions do we have this feature? He has AutoCAD 2018 and he's not able to find it.
If you're on subscription, it should be available. I think if I remember rightly, this all kicked in with 2019. So it might be that he does need to upgrade possibly there. I would need to check on versioning on that one. So if somebody wants to remind me at end of play, that'd be great. I can potentially get back to him. Yep. But yeah, it's only in the more, I think it's in the most recent 3 versions of AutoCAD. So you're talking going back to around 2019, which is when the one AutoCAD with the specialized tool sets kicked in. So that was when this all started happening, and we had the new mobile app and the new web app. So it's kind of around AutoCAD 2019. So it might be that he needs to upgrade. Okay with that one? Yep. No worries. Okay, moving right along. Now, obviously I mentioned about utilizing other cloud providers. Now, you don't have to use web and mobile. Okay, that's fair enough. But the good thing is the mobile app and the web app, don't worry about that. They can gain access to your files when you're mobile, regardless of which cloud-based provision you're using. Now, one of the things is that obviously cloud-based provision, there's a lots of it out there. And you've got OneDrive, which is my preferred solution. I use OneDrive all the time now. And that's what's shown there on that screenshot at the moment. I'm running AutoCAD 2022, and I'm saving, as you can see, into my Community Conversations folder on my OneDrive account. And you can see I've got a little OneDrive there, a little cloud-based symbol in my location bar in the select file sort of dialog box as well. You can also utilize Google Drive. You can also utilize Dropbox. You can also utilize Box. But also coming back into the Autodesk stable as well, you can also utilize Autodesk Drive. You can also utilize Autodesk Docs. Autodesk Docs forms part of the construction cloud sort of infrastructure ecosystem at Autodesk. So all of that ties together. And the whole idea of this is it allows you not only to be mobile and take your iPad out on site instead of that great big sheet of paper, it also allows you to work in the ecosystem from a project-based environment as well. So something like Autodesk Docs, you could be linking to, you could have loads of files in there. Wouldn't just be AutoCAD files, you'd have your Revit files, your Inventor files, and so on. And all of this can be driven by project or company constraints and standards. I've got a really simple folder structure there. It literally just says Community Conversations Going Mobile with AutoCAD. But these might be project folders, they might be, you know, standard detail folders that you're working with, and all of that information can be constrained by the standards you use. But the benefit is all of those cloud-based providers in that list are supported by AutoCAD Web and AutoCAD Mobile, which is where I'm going with this. Once you've got your Autodesk ID, you then have the keys to the kingdom. You can then go mobile. So there's my OneDrive. There's my file, and I literally just either open it or save it to my OneDrive instead. Just a different part of the cloud. If you want to kind of put it that way, it's a different cloud in the cloud. Okay, let's put it that way. I'm on a different cloud. Now, when we're working with this software, obviously we work primarily with our AutoCAD desktop app, the AutoCAD on your Windows that you double click on, and up comes AutoCAD, right? Now, way back when, I can remember, I honestly can't remember which AU it was, but one of the AutoCAD development team approached me and we were talking about, you know, influencing AutoCAD and getting AutoCAD out there to the user. And I was indicated, oh, would a web-based application be of interest to me? You know, if AutoCAD ran in a browser, would that be something that would be of interest to me? And well, you know, it was like, yeah, absolutely. That works really well. And I started working with some of the development guys on the web-based version of AutoCAD way back when. I don't do it now because, well, Autodesk have kind of got it covered. So it's really easy. If you're running something like AutoCAD or even AutoCAD LT has this on subscription, is you can jump into web.autocad.com. And that's a URL that you just type in and it will prompt you to sign in. And you log in using your Autodesk ID, your Autodesk account. And as soon as you do that, you end up here in AutoCAD in a browser. And you can see there that I'm in my OneDrive, and you can see there that I've got my files as well. So there's web.autocad.com in my browser. The browser I use of choice, by the way, is the new Microsoft Edge, the Chromium-based one. And I do find that the AutoCAD web app works really well in that particular browser. I actually think it's better than Google Chrome, but Google Chrome tends to be the preferred platform. But as you can see, the folders and the files can be located in the AutoCAD web and mobile folders or your preferred cloud-based storage. So at the moment in there, we're using obviously OneDrive, but you've got all those other storage providers. You've also got AutoCAD Web and Mobile as well. So Web and Mobile is specific to your Autodesk ID, and then you've got the other storage providers. And if you're in the web app, you just pick the storage provider, use your login details to get into, say, OneDrive, and it will automatically add that OneDrive to the list on the left-hand side there that you can see. And there's my file again. One of the lovely things I love about the web app is it's all core AutoCAD technology. And the benefit you've got there is it uses all the same iconography as well. So you can recognize that it's a DWG by the nice little sort of yellow and blue icon, for example. And other file types will also show up with their specific icons, like a Revit file will have a Revit icon next to it, an RVT icon. Now, this is one of my little quotes that I love to use. I always like to kind of throw this around, especially at AU. And this was one that I used at AU this year. And whilst AU was virtual, I still really enjoyed the process. I actually really enjoyed the AU platform this year as well. As a speaker, it really, really made life a lot easier. But using the mobile technology that we've got nowadays, we've got incredible internet, pretty fast in most places, but we've got internet pretty much everywhere. And yes, people joke about the microwaves and the fact that we're all getting microwaves slowly and things like that. But the mobile technology is there. It's not going to go away. But you can combine that with things like the AutoCAD web app and the AutoCAD mobile app. And the whole idea of this series of community conversations is I want to talk about how that gives you incredible mobility. And it's all core AutoCAD technology as well. So if you can drive your AutoCAD desktop app, you can drive the mobile app, you can also drive the web app. But this is going to give you seamless workflows and processes. You're not going to have to email a drawing to somebody, expect them to work on it, change some details, email it back to you with a slightly different file name, and then there's no error because the drawings that you're working on are just there in the cloud. So when you're collaborating in your CAD team, you can collaborate with stakeholders, clients. All of this information can be given out, and there's some fantastic sharing technology built into things like the web app and the mobile app as well. You can actually share a drawing by way of a URL link so that somebody can just click on the link and it will open up the web app and it will open up that file in the web app. So all of these AutoCAD apps are going to give you, as a designer or a drafter or whatever, an incredible amount of flexibility, the flexibility that I wished I had 20, 30 years ago when I was standing there in the snow and the rain trying to hold a big drawing down on the bonnet of my car. So now you can literally make anything anywhere you want to. You can be on the shop floor in a factory and you can be working out machine layouts and so on. And it can all be done literally in the drawing. That's the mobility you're going to get. So I'd like to say thank you for listening. I'll hand over back to Tiana for a little while. Obviously, we've got a little bit of time for Q&A and so on. So if there's any questions at all, obviously raise your hands and I'll see what I can do about answering them for you.
Yep. So if you guys also don't necessarily want to raise your hand and come off mute, you can also pop them in the chat and we will answer your questions. But questions, comments, really anything that's on your mind about this stuff, we'll be happy to talk about. And if we don't, then we'll move on. Give it a few minutes. Going once. Going twice. All right. I think that we are good. It seems like no one really has raised their hand quite yet. So we will move forward. We also have the community conversation site, like I said before, where we will post the recording as well. So if anyone has any further questions or things like that, they can head over there, which I believe a link will be added into the chat in a few minutes. So I just have a couple of last minute slides just to wrap up. Shaun, if you could pop to the next. Perfect. So these are different ways that you can stay connected within our Autodesk community. We have the Autodesk group network, we have our industry communities, we have our forums, which you can find Shaun there relatively easily. And also we have our social media, so you can follow us on Twitter. These are all great ways to stay connected with us and really start making connections through our community. Again, this is our first series of this, so there are I think 3 more of these. So definitely keep an eye. Yep. So definitely keep an eye out for those. They will be on our community conversations event list over at our link, which is in the chat now. And then just really thank you for joining us. We welcome your feedback on all of these sessions and things like that. So again, all of the links that you need for that is in the chat currently. And just thank you. Thank you to Shaun and thank you for everyone who joined today.
You're welcome. No problem.
All right, everyone. We will see you soon. We'll see you at the next one.
Cheers. Thank you.